Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are exploring a massive, real-time paradigm shift happening right now in human biology and medicine. We're going to dive into how peptide therapies are simultaneously dominating big pharma clinical trials, literally smashing weight loss records, while also triggering some massive regulatory whiplash at the FDA when it comes to compounding access. It's a two-front revolution, and by the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly what the latest clinical data says and how this shifting legal landscape impacts what you can actually get your hands on. Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We'll start with the peptide medicine revolution, move into the big pharma blockbusters, check out Retatrutide, the triple agonist, explore alternative peptides for healing, unpack the 2026 FDA reversal, and finally discuss navigating peptide safely. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the peptide medicine revolution. Before we get into the heavy clinical data, we really need to know what we're actually talking about here, right? What exactly is a peptide? Simply put, it's just a short chain of amino acids. As Dr. Andrew Huberman often points out in his deep dives, people get super overwhelmed by all the confusing acronyms and numbers like BPC-157 or CJC-1295. But at their core, peptides are just molecular messengers. They're telling your cells to do specific things, whether that's releasing growth hormone, healing damaged tissue, or regulating your appetite. And that quote right there brilliantly captures why peptides are at the absolute center of a medical paradigm shift. It's not just a one-trick pony. We are seeing clinical applications treating everything from metabolic disease and severe obesity all the way to deep tissue repair. They're remarkably enhancing physical health, mental health, and overall human performance. We're looking at a whole new toolkit for the human body. Moving right along to Section 2, the big pharma blockbusters. Let's zoom out to the macro side of this revolution. The GLP-1 weight loss drugs that are absolutely breaking clinical trial records right now. The highly anticipated Phase 3 SURMOUNT-5 trial recently pitted two blockbuster treatments directly against each other in patients who have obesity, but notably without type 2 diabetes. On one side, you've got semaglutide, which is a single agonist targeting just the GLP-1 receptor. And on the other side, tirzepatide, a dual agonist targeting both GIP and GLP-1 receptors. So it's basically a head-to-head matchup, a single mechanism of action versus a combined dual approach. So, what did the New England Journal of Medicine actually find? Well, the data is pretty clear. Tirzepatide definitively outperformed. Over a 72-week period, patients on the dual agonist tirzepatide achieved a massive 20.2% reduction in body weight. Compare that to 13.7% for the single agonist semaglutide. Tirzepatide also drove way better reductions in waist circumference, pulling an average of 18.4 centimeters off the waist compared to 13 centimeters. The dual agonist approach? Yeah, it clearly takes the win here. Which brings us to Section 3, Retatrutide, the triple agonist. But hold on, because Eli Lilly is already pushing the boundary even further with an investigational drug called Retatrutide. This one is a triple hormone receptor agonist. It targets GIP, GLP-1, and adds a glucagon receptor component into the mix. And the numbers coming out of their Phase 3 TRIUMPH-4 trial, they are absolutely staggering. Patients on a 12 milligram dose achieved a 28.7% body weight reduction at 68 weeks. To put that into perspective, that is an average weight loss of over 71 pounds. Plus, for the patients in this trial suffering from knee osteoarthritis, the drug reduced their pain scores by an incredible 76%. More than 1 in 8 patients were completely free from knee pain by the end of the trial. Just incredible. Now, we do need to talk about a new safety signal that popped up here. In that same TRIUMPH-4 trial, up to 20.9% of the high-dose retatrutide patients developed something called dysesthesia, compared to just 0.7% on the placebo. Dysesthesia is basically an abnormal sense of touch that makes totally normal sensations feel weird or even painful. While Eli Lilly noted these events were generally mild and rarely led to patients actually quitting the trial, it is a completely new side effect profile, and you can bet researchers are watching it with a very close eye as these drugs get more powerful. All right, shifting gears to Section 4, alternative peptides for healing. While GLP-1s absolutely dominate the nightly news for weight loss, there is an entirely new, completely unexpected frontier opening up: addiction. At the June 2026 ADA Scientific Sessions, researchers revealed something huge. It turns out GLP-1 receptor agonists appear to dampen the brain's mesolimbic dopamine reward pathways. Preclinical data shows they consistently reduce alcohol intake by 30 to 60%. And because retatrutide's glucagon component acts directly on the brain's deep reward centers, specifically the ventral tegmental area and nucleus accumbens, Eli Lilly is actually eyeing alcohol use disorder as a potential future indication in their pipeline. It's a stunning, completely game-changing effect on cravings and compulsive behaviors. And beyond breaking addictions, functional medicine clinicians are using an entirely different class of peptides to optimize physical function. Providers heavily favor BPC-157 and TB500 for treating inflammation and really accelerating tissue repair. Think of them as the ultimate cellular mechanics. Meanwhile, CJC125 and ipamorelin act as growth hormone secretagogues. Basically, they signal your pituitary gland to release more of your own natural growth hormone, which works wonders for sleep and recovery. Clinicians actually use these specific compounds a lot to offset the lean muscle loss that frequently comes with the rapid weight reduction from GLP-1s. It's a highly synergistic approach to overall metabolic health. Now, let's get into the legal side of things in Section 5, the 2026 FDA reversal. You're going to want to pay attention to this timeline, because the regulatory whiplash year has been absolutely wild. Over 2023 and 2024, the FDA restricted 19 popular peptides, including heavy hitters like BPC-157, moving them to the restricted Category 2 list over safety concerns. That effectively pulled them off the shelves at legal compounding pharmacies. But then, boom. On February 27, 2026, the Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Kennedy, announced a major policy reversal to restore legal compounding access for 14 of those peptides. By April 2026, the FDA officially updated its 503A bulk drug list for review, with a final rule expected to let pharmacies resume production by Q3 2026. This shift is literally monumental for the compounding industry. It moves highly sought-after recovery tools like BPC-157, TB500, and that CJC and ipamorelin stock right back into Category 1. That's the legal, regulated healthcare pipeline. Meanwhile, other compounds like follistatin 344 and cerebrolysin are still going to remain restricted under Category 2. This update is incredibly important because it means patients are once again going to be able to get pharmaceutical-grade recovery peptides legally, right from their doctor with a prescription. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, navigating peptides safely. Listen to this. A 2023 FDA analysis found that up to 40% of unregulated research chemicals you buy online contained inaccurate dosing, severe degradation, or outright contamination. That is a massive, massive risk. Because of this, utilizing that restored legal pharmacy pathway is absolutely critical for your safety. The steps here are super clear. You consult a physician for a proper prescription. You fulfill that prescription exclusively through a licensed compounding pharmacy pulling from that legal Category 1 list. And you continuously monitor your progress with baseline blood work. You never, ever want to just shotgun these compounds into your system without strict medical oversight. So, wrapping this all up, between big pharma engineering gurgs that can drop nearly 29% of your body weight and seemingly shut down deep-rooted addiction cravings, to the government completely reversing course to re-legalize regenerative compounds for tissue repair, we have officially entered a completely new era of metabolic medicine. And it leaves us with a truly profound question. As these molecular tools become stronger and far more accessible, where exactly do we draw the line between healing a disease and fundamentally enhancing human performance? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and keep questioning the science.